This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another amazing topic of conversation. Thank you to our sponsors, the Health Channel, and please join their newsletter so you can be up to date in the latest health news and trends. And also for the Chef and You Fingermans, everything you need for the kitchen. And from the Power of the Heels Foundation, we're back with going live with a networking event. So please go to our website, thepoweroftheheels.org. So, Beatriz, welcome.
Thank you so much, Gladys, for having me here.
It is a real pleasure to have you here. And it is more amazing when we hear your story because you are a fourth generation of running a nonprofit. And that
That's
is a dream come true for many, many people that have nonprofits. So let
Yes,
me start by asking you, tell us a little bit about the organization and then about your great grandmother.
perfect. So I'm going to switch the order. I'm going to first tell you about my great grandmother and then the organization. So my great grandmother was born uh, in 1820, and she wrote a testimony in 1916, so over 100 years ago, where she decided that she was gonna give part of her inheritance to create a foundation that would be the focus was to take care of children and adolescents, poor and vulnerable children and adolescents, and especially girls. And there was also a part where she made emphasis on the construction of housing for the workforce. And this she dedicated uh, 3/4 of her of a seventh that she could give or donate to the cause, which was mostly in properties, in farms and different properties around the city. Um, and that was going to be the endowment of the foundation when it was created. So when she passed away in 1917, her daughters, two of her daughters, she had in total 8 children, but two of her daughters, one was my great grandmother. They implemented and
The
started
great
implementing
grandmother, because this was the great great great
exactly.
grandmother. Okay.
Uh-huh. And so my great great grandmother and her sister implemented the foundation and created it legally. And that was done 90 years ago in November of 1932. Uh, so they started the foundation without really knowing how to materialize or how to make true her her will. And throughout the years, housing projects were developed in some of these lands. Other lands were sold, and an endowment began to be created so that the dividends of these investments then maintained the foundation. And throughout the years, a school then in 1968 was built in the municipality of Madrid in near Bogota. It's about 35 kilometers from Bogota. And in this school, it started out as a place where young women, were taught how to sew, how to, do different, uh, in that moment, women's work in the home, and a place of protection, of course. And then more recently, in the 1970s, the foundation started with actually an all girls school and a boarding school. And the boarding school part was there to for women and young women that needed the most protection from their homes. They were very vulnerable for several issues, sexual um, harassment from people from their homes and so on. And so this was a place of protection. And throughout the years, we've developed into a foundation now that I'm very proud to say that last year, three of our girls went to the Houston Space Center in Houston, where they were able to do all this week-long course on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and leadership, soft skills as well. So we've come a long way. We now have 340 girls studying in the school.
But they
And
were bored.
what, sorry?
They also sleep there, and you have like a
Half of
home.
them, half of them are day students, half of them sleep there.
Okay. And
Yes, half of them are from the area, and so they don't necessarily need a place to stay, unless we identify some vulnerability that would make them eligible for them to stay in the boarding school. And the other ones, the majority of the ones that are staying in the boarding school are the ones that live further away, that it would be impossible for them to get there in the morning to go to school. And in those 50 plus years of having the school, we've graduated 1,866 students, all women, and impacted around 7,000 people, including their families. So it has been a great and very satisfactory work, and we've maintained, and we're working now on a network of alumni, and we want to continue these networks because we feel that the elder generations can support the younger generations in several different areas, and so that's been the work that the Institución Zoraida has done up to now.
so now you are the fifth generation taking over, which is literally amazing. I remember your sister, that when she went and worked there, that she went undercover.
Uh-huh.
She went
Exactly.
undercover just to understand what these girls went through and what they needed.
Exactly.
What have you learned from that experience, or what have you changed since?
Yeah, so we've changed a lot in the way we've thought, and I think it's more cultural changes, and the mentality of us who are part of the foundation and work there. So, for example, a lot of the mentality, I would say 10 or 20 years ago, was, these are poor girls, they don't have opportunities in life, we have to give them opportunities, and provide them, and oh, poor girls, and we are a little bit condescending on the way we treat them, and that, I think, predispose them to not believe in themselves. And we've changed that mentality completely in the past, I would say, 5 years. And it has been an incredible change to see these women that are empowered, regardless of their background, regardless of where they're coming from. They now feel that they have the tools to decide what they want to do in life. And what we're trying to do at school is, from the 6th grade when they get there to 11th grade when they graduate, is to accompany them through different, with psychologists, with tutors, to try to understand what they want to do in their life. If they want to become mothers, we completely respect that, and we provide all the tools for them to do their best job at doing what they want to do. If they want to become doctors, we do exactly the same. And so we're now really supporting their dreams and trying to guide them to the resources that they have available, and always with the mentality that they can do whatever they want to do with their life.
Remember, a while ago, like, we were able to bring, and I was so proud to be part of it, that we were able to bring the training to these girls while they were in school, to from the private sector. So they were trained, and when they completed the training, they left to work at a chain of restaurants that only hired women. So that was like
Exactly.
a perfect match.
Exactly. So those are the type of experiences that we're trying to cultivate more and try to join and identify the needs of the private sector in the area to how these women are being trained and what training they're getting. And something that we're doing now is that from 10th and 11th grade, they start working or they start taking the certificate in different, they have different options, but one is technology and the other one is business. And they get technical training on these topics so that when they graduate, they already have basically 2 years towards their professional degree under their arm. And they can eventually go to university and complete their degree, or they can start working immediately. And these are the two topics that we've discovered in the area where Madrid and the school is at that are most needed. Because that, as you say, Gladys, that connection between getting these girls attached to the private sector and employment is absolutely fundamental for them to get out or break the poverty cycle.
That's exactly what we're doing at the Power of the Hills.
Fantastic.
I have to wait 5 generations so that they would continue. That would be my dream. But do you feel that you have fulfilled your great grandmother's wishes?
It's a question that I ask myself often, uh, and I think that yes, I think that we have adjusted a bit of her vision, or a bit of what was the normal implementation of her will in 1932 to today. That has changed for sure, but I
1932,
think
she was born in the 1800s.
I think the her vision and legacy we maintain, and that's actually my position as family member in as part of the organization to make sure that we are not diverging from that main goal.
What difference what are you looking to do now besides the culture change? What is your vision now that you're taking over?
So, as I mentioned before, our endowment has allowed us to uh, be be able to cover all our costs and be able to be self-sustaining for what we've done so far. And I think that, or one of our goals is to actually create more social impact. And so we're in a process of change and of opening of the Institución Zoraida to ally with partners and anybody who wants to work with us, basically on obviously the school that we now have, but also to create models that can be replicated and scalable to other educational institutions. So we're heading towards using our school as a laboratory to test different models, learning models, STEM. We have a STEM lab, which is one, I think, the first in Latin America to have a STEM lab where young, students can go in from our school and from neighboring schools from Madrid and use the STEM lab to create ideas and to actually make their ideas come true. And perhaps some of those ideas can eventually transform themselves into great business ideas. So we're in a process of opening ourselves to the world, of looking for partners that we can work with. And a friend of mine put this analogy that was very it hit very dear, which is if you have all the money, if you have $10 million, do you spend them and you have to work on climate change? Do you spend them all now, or do you, spend them slowly throughout time? And obviously, if you want to create an impact for climate change, you have to spend them all now. And so we're in the process of, if we want to have more impact, we need to be willing to spend a good portion of our endowment, even if that comes at the cost that we might not be alive in 5 or 10 years. But we need to make a social impact now because it's needed. And so if we design the right programs that are scalable, that are important, that are relevant, the money from other parts would come. And we trust that this will be true if, when we design those models that we want to replicate at a national scale, even at an international scale. Because I think that these problems, and especially after the pandemia, getting students motivated to go to high school, to even go to school has been a very big challenge. And so we have to make it relevant for them. We have to, join forces with the private sector after they graduate to see what employment opportunities there are and so on.
But that's bold.
Yes, yes.
So you're totally disrupting the whole way of doing things.
Yes, and that has been not, I would say, not my decision alone. I have the board of directors behind me. I have the rest of the family also supporting this. And it's a new vision, and it's a new way of thinking about how to do social impact.
Look into something. Now that you're changing into a different kind of view, part of what we're doing with the Loving Me More program is teaching the girls the gap that school always forgets. And it's not always about the science or the math, but it's about the personal branding, how to get a mentor, how to get internships, and like for example, how to do a resume, some of the things that school is lacking so that you can prepare these girls to become leaders and then have a really like a seat on the table so that they can help close the gender gap
Hmm. Hmm.
because that's also a very big problem right now.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that we've been working on that as well. That's a new thing, and part of their trying to help girls establish their project of life means giving them the tools to actually get there. And all those skills that you mentioned are absolutely central to getting those. Um, One of the areas that we're looking into having an impact, and perhaps expanding our current school, is to be able to receive women from the age of 4 months, so very very babies, and actually bring them, or accompany them all the way through their professional degrees, so that we can see how, because working in the first years of life from 0 to 5 years is one of the most important ages that really marks the difference later in life. And so if we can actually, get that training from when they're 4 months, which is when the maternity licenses end in Colombia, then we can probably have a greater impact than we're having now. And also trying to get fill that gap between when they graduate from high school and they start their professional degrees.
Professional, that would be amazing.
And a different strategy as well that we've started implementing the past 2 years has been, before our criteria was to accept girls on a need basis that were the most needed, that had social vulnerabilities, economic vulnerabilities. Um, and now we've decided that we should accept also girls that they don't necessarily have those vulnerabilities, and they have the opportunity to pay a bit more, because we think that mixing girls from different incomes is very important for networking. And
No,
so we're
definitely, because they can learn from each other.
exactly, and the girls that have higher incomes can pull, up the other ones. And so we have a policy now. I don't know if that'll change in the future, but we're now having a cap of 45% of girls with higher incomes that can actually pay a bit more. That helps also sustain um, the foundation a little bit, not entirely, but a little bit.
Yeah,
And
so that they feel that they're contributing to something.
exactly, exactly. So it gets reinvested back in our work. Hmm. And that has been very positive because now the mayor's daughter works with the daughter from the woman who works at the cutting flowers in the flower business in Madrid, because that's a big business there of cultivating flowers. And so we have a joining of a mix of incomes within.
Do you have within all the girls that, do you have like a leadership program that have you been able to identify some that will become the leaders?
So we've now implemented this year the first program with the Houston Space Center. So this is besides the three girls that went to Houston on this week-long leadership and STEM course. We also had a year-long course with two grades, seventh grade and ninth grade, um, led by Houston Space Center's teachers, working jointly with Institución Zoraida's teachers. Um, where they wanted to actually identify the leaders within the school, and then basically give them all the tools of leadership, and also some of them, the ones that actually stand out, give them different opportunities so they can capitalize on their abilities to lead.
That is amazing. I really congratulate you, congratulate all the five generations of what you've done, because very few people just continue. They just give up, and that has been an amazing journey. But
Yes.
thank
And
you. I honestly hope that the power of the hills will follow your path, because your foundation has been an inspiration behind me.
fantastic. And we would love to have the Power of the Hills visit us one day in Madrid so that you can interact directly with the girls.
I would love to. Thank you. And everyone, have an amazing day. And above all, stay safe. Until next week.